We're going to look at two Japanese sports cars, starting with the 2014 Nissan 370Z. We'll also be taking a look at the Infiniti Q60S convertible, which also has a hardtop. I think the 370Z is a very nice looking car regardless of the angle you're viewing it from. Attractive from the side, and an attractive unique view from the rear. Under the hood is a 3.7 liter V6 putting out 332 horsepower, rated 18 to 26 miles per gallon. A 6-speed manual transmission is standard. For those who don't like to shift for themselves, a 7-speed automatic is available as an option. The cabin is just as attractive as the outside. Quality materials and workmanship is very good. Now, most sports cars today come with a tilt steering wheel. In the case of the 370Z, the entire gauge cluster tilts with the wheel up and down, giving you a perfect view of the instruments. A very good idea. Makes you wonder why others don't do this. You've got a triple gauge cluster on top of the dash, but what's unique about this is they're angled towards the driver, which makes a lot of sense. After all, the passenger doesn't need to read this, the driver does. Another feature I would like to see on other cars. For the climate control, we get simple knobs. For the audio, we get simple knobs, the way it should be. The navigation and info system is very simple to use. I haven't had to read the owner's manual yet. In fact, all the controls and buttons on this car are very simple to use, easy to operate, well thought out, no complaints. On the other hand, we did have a few complaints about the storage capability, of which there is very little in this car. The glove box is extremely way too small. A dinky console, and a few storage bins on the doors. That's about it. If you're going to store anything in the vehicle, you'll have to use the rear. Not much room back here, but it's better than nothing. And yes, there is a spare tire under here. Now, this car had the $3,000 sport package, which includes this nice leather interior, very attractive seats, a nice suede coating on the doors, 19-inch alloy wheels with bigger tires, a high-performance braking system. Another feature on the sport package, that is a sport package only, you can't get it on the other Z models, is what the factory calls Synchro Rev-Match. And ordinarily, if you downshift in a normal car and you give it too much gas, you can burn up your clutch, or you downshift and give it not enough gas, you can damage the transmission when you're racing around high-speed corners. What this does, you press the sport button here, and the computer monitors the clutch pedal location, the shift lever location, and vehicle speed. And as you downshift, the computer automatically adjusts the RPMs so you get a perfect downshift. Works pretty good. Now, someone asked me, what if you engage the Synchro Rev and traveling 80 miles per hour in 6th, then suddenly downshift into 1st? What does the computer do then? It'd be interesting to find out, but I think Nissan wants their car back with a transmission on it, so I didn't give it a try. That's something you'll have to do for yourself. Front and rear spoilers, and sport shocks all around with the limited slip differential in the rear. A lot of stuff for the money, I think. Now, this engine has lots of power. And this 6-speed manual transmission is a very smooth operator. If you like to shift for yourself, you won't be disappointed. Now, there's a slight drawback. Number one, this engine is a bit crude and noisy. While it can rev up to 7,500 RPM, it sounds like it's going to explode at 4,000 RPM. Of course it won't. This is a very durable power plant. And number two, while the 6-speed is a very smooth, efficient operating device, it really offers no performance advantage over the 7-speed automatic, which is a lot easier to live with in day-to-day traffic. So if you're getting this car as a play toy for weekends, the 6-speed will do just fine, but for daily transportation, I would go with the automatic myself. But always the choice is yours. Now, in terms of sports car performance, there's nothing to complain about here. The steering's very responsive, the cornering ability is excellent. And those brakes stop on a dime. The only drawback, the ride is on the firm side. And number two, the wheels and tires make a lot of rumbling noises on rough pavement, which gets very annoying after a while. This is not a car you'd want to take on a long trip, but since there's no luggage room, you're not likely to do so anyway. Now we're driving on rough pavement, and I'm sure you can hear the microphone picking up all the rumbling noises coming through the chassis and the body. We've also got some rough pavement here that's drowning out the radio, so I just turned it off. A nice car on smooth roads, but on rough pavement, it's kind of annoying. The base price of a 370Z is $29,999. Okay, let's top it off to 30 grand, which is a super bargain. Of course, when you load up the options, in this case, a sport package, navigation, a few minor items, I hit $41,000. And with the Nismo package or convertible, you can max out around $45,000. Still, compared to the German competition, this is a very, very good buy. Now, if you like the Z but can't own one because you need 4 seats instead of 2 and appreciate a more comfortable ride to boot, the Z's bigger brother, the Infiniti Q60, is available for a bit more money, and we'll be looking at that vehicle next. Now we'll take a drive in the Infiniti Q60S hardtop convertible. Like other vehicles of this design, you press a button and the hardtop disappears into the trunk. Here it is at the halfway point. And here's what it looks like with the top totally down. Now, driving with the top down is fun, but don't plan on taking any luggage. There's nothing going to fit in this trunk. Now, normally I don't do reviews on other publications that test cars, but I have some comments to make because Motor Trend magazine tested this vehicle about 4 months ago and totally trashed it, complaining about some of the silliest stuff I've ever read. The first complaint was you have to stop the car in order to put the top down instead of doing it while you're driving in motion. I don't really see the problem with this. If you're driving a car, you should be concentrating on driving, not messing with the top. As far as I'm concerned, you should pull over to put the top up and down. So I don't think it's a legitimate complaint. Number two, they were complaining because it takes 30 seconds for the top to go down compared to other vehicles which run around 20 to 25 seconds. Like, boo-hoo. So what? Are we in that big of a hurry? Then they bitched about the antenna being located on the trunk, claiming it blocks your rear view. You must be joking. This little thing, and where else are you going to put the antenna anyway? And they didn't like the fact that the trunk made a big thumping noise when it was closing electronically. Boo-hoo again. Now, this vehicle is a bit heavier than the older G37 model, so the 0 to 60 time goes from 5.4 seconds to 5.7 seconds, and Motor Trend was bitching about that too. Believe me, this car is not slow, not considering the 4,300 pound weight. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, why Motor Trend was trashing this car so bad, I don't know, but I suspect if Infiniti had purchased a big advertising contract, things might have been a little bit different. You think? Okay, enough complaining about Motor Trend magazine. Now let's start with my review, which I think you'll find a little bit better than theirs. For starters, I think this is an excellent looking car. Very gorgeous. And this bright white paint makes it look even better. Another side view. And a peek from the rear. Under the hood, the same basic V6 that Nissan and Infiniti have been using since the beginning of time. A very strong, reliable engine. This one's putting out 325 horsepower. Gas mileage is rated at 16 to 24 miles per gallon. This vehicle comes standard with a 6-speed manual transmission. If you like shifting for yourself, it's a very nice gearbox. Very smooth, very precise, with a nice clutch. Be advised, however, this also comes with a 7-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters, and this motor pulls quite well at low RPM, so you might get more performance out of the automatic. If you're looking for a weekend warrior car, the 6-speed's fine, but if you're driving a car every day, I'd go with the 7-speed automatic myself, but of course the choice is yours. There's nothing worse than getting a convertible with a black interior. It heats up like an oven. Fortunately, we got a white interior here, which looks very nice and was a lot cooler to drive in the heat. The controls in the cabin are very simple, easy to use. Here's the climate control, 2 simple knobs, a few buttons, the way it should be. Same with the stereo system. Here's the navigation, phone, and information system up here. Very easy to use. I haven't had to read the owner's manual, not yet anyway. Not too much I can say about the glove box, except it's ridiculously small and pretty much worthless if you have the owner's manual inside. Take it out, you might have some room. Not a good design. Like most cars in this class, the rear seats are for kids only, hopefully with short legs. Inside the key fob is a manual key. Unfortunately, this has a habit of falling off. Very easy to get lost. One feature I don't care for. Funny Motor Trend didn't spot that. As I stated earlier, the gas mileage rating is 16 in the city and 24 on the highway. I've been getting 18 in mixed city highway driving, and 23.7 cruising at 70 miles per hour was my best. This isn't very good. Most V8s on the market will do better than this, but that's just the way it is. I'm told that a lot of the parts on the Infiniti Q60 are borrowed from the Nissan 370Z sports car. If so, this would explain the excellent driving performance. The steering is very responsive, the brakes have a nice firm feel, and the cornering ability is excellent. The ride is reasonably comfortable, but on rough roads like this, there's a lot of pounding from these wheels and tires. It gets very annoying after a while. I'm doing some freeway cruising with the top down. The wind noise is relatively low, and even though it's 40 degrees outside, the climate systems keep me reasonably warm. So I think I'll just keep driving like this. The base price of the Q60 is $52,750. In all fairness, everything is standard from navigation to leather. There are no options. So the ending price is also $52,750. It's not cheap, but certainly less money than the German competition. So if this is the type of car you're looking for, it's worth a look. This is what happens when you're driving 75 in a 35 zone and had a few beers to boot. Must have hurt. Yep, got another one right down the street. That must have hurt too.